Gosar here, and Commissioner Jones will be joining us here in just a minute. Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, I appreciate it. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's probably because it's a good idea. Really fancy phone. Sorry, Pete.
No worries, you're fine.
Anybody using it? I don't know if that was for, I'm assuming that was for the call.
760-7878. Right.
Yeah. It's a number.
There you go.
We can go and then I'll see if she texts me back.
Okay, item 3, a public hearing. There is none. Item 4, comments from the public. Would anybody in the room like to make a public comment, and then we'll go online? In the room first, and yeah, please come on up, give us your name.
Just
And,
on any agenda item or?
yep,
Okay, I
sure.
couldn't remember, it's been a while.
Yep.
Evening, Commissioners. My name is Connor Mullen. I live and work here in Laramie, but I'm here tonight as a member of the community, although sometimes my work here in town does overlap with the topic that I'm going to discuss briefly. I wanted to quickly show my support for one of your agenda items tonight and encourage the commission to approve a grant that's been written up by the county and would be going towards the Department of Energy.
Sorry.
Oh, no, good,
Thank you, Connor.
Terry, can you hear us?
I can. I've
Okay.
been trying to get in Zoom, but
I know.
nothing's happening.
Okay, you are in the meeting.
We're good.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, I just wanted to quickly show my support for one of tonight's agenda items and encourage the commission to approve a grant application that's been written up and would be going towards the Department of Energy. I think applying for these funds and subsequently installing solar panels on facilities like fairgrounds, evidence storage, the road and bridge building all sounds like a good idea to me. We've seen other projects in the city and county benefit from solar, and I think if we can secure these funds, that it will be a win-win. Using these funds will save us money in the short term, and then installing solar panels on these facilities will, of course, save us money in the long run. Additionally, I think I'd guess that the footprint on these projects is going to be pretty minimal. And lastly, I think solar projects like these give us a stepping stone towards energy independence in the county, given that the technologies are always being improved upon, and we might have the option of installing batteries at some point down the line. So with that, I'd encourage your aye vote on that agenda item, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Con.
Thanks, Connor. Appreciate it. Anybody else in the room want to make a public comment? And welcome, Commissioner Jones. It didn't ring, so we didn't even hear. So thank you so much. How about online? Would anybody online like to make a public comment? How about last call, in person and online? Seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public comment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 5, disclosures. Commissioner Rivera, any disclosures?
I have none.
Commissioner Jones, any disclosures?
None today.
And Commissioner Gosso, none. Also, 6, considerations of changes on the agenda. Bailey.
I just have one, because we finally heard back from some partners. It'll be an application for the Wyoming Governor's Matching Funds for Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act grants for the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods program.
Awesome. Well, how about we put that where, after your last item there at 13A?
Perfect, thank you.
Anybody
I
else?
can understand everybody but Pete.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Terry, is that better?
I'm sorry?
Is that better?
Well, let's just go with it, and if I can't get it, I'll say something.
Okay,
Okay.
that's helpful. Okay, I would like to add, we got a permit to appraise for Third Street between Curtis to Boswell Street from the Wyoming Department of Transportation on a project that they have. So we can go wherever on the agenda.
Can we put that at 21A? All right. Anything else to change the agenda? So 2 items, 13A and 21A. Item 7, approval of the consent agenda. Commissioners, if you'd like to approve it, move some out, however you'd like to do with the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. That takes us to item 8 on the second page for the regular agenda and the presentation of the second annual Greater Northwest Passenger Rail Summit. I see Mr. Bilka on. Mr. Bilka, good evening. Thank you for the information. And I think probably if I were to, I know it's a lot of information, so maybe you could summarize some of the stuff, the findings as it relates to Wyoming, and then steps for us, and then future steps for the rail.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Again, my name is Dan Bilka. I'm co-founder and president of a regional advocacy organization known as All Aboard Northwest. We cover roughly from the Western Great Lakes to the Pacific Northwest. So this big region you see behind me, that people actually live out here too. This being more of an informational item, I just want to flag this for all of you to be aware that there's an ever-growing concert and interest in our region to see restored and new passenger rail services, such as that which came through Laramie, known as the Pioneer Route. As of last month, there was a summit in Boise, Idaho, in which members from throughout our region were there to present and actually had the Amtrak president and CEO be our breakfast keynote speaker. So in succinct form, I just want you to all know that we are making sure that our region is on the radar of the FRA, of Amtrak, or excuse me, the Federal Railroad Administration, of Amtrak, and of Congress. And we want to make sure to do our due diligence to see fair and good passenger rail service out in our region as well. The main thing I want to flag for all of you to be aware of is what is known as the FRA Amtrak Daily Long Distance Service Study. This is looking at both restored and potential new Amtrak long distance services in our region. And I don't know who is handling the technology, but if possible, could you bring up that kind of the conceptual enhanced network? That is what I want to flag for y'all. This is a project or a study that is being done through the Federal Railroad Administration by direction of the US Congress to look at these things. And again, they're not only looking at former Amtrak daily long distance routes, such as the Pioneer Route, but even potential new routes as well. And as you'll see, as it relates to Wyoming, that they do have this conceptual enhanced network of routes in green there that include the Pioneer Route through Albany County and Laramie, as well as 2 routes up to the north, and that these are different routes that are on the conceptual network. And that currently the study is about halfway through completion. This is only step 2 of 4. So nothing precludes that possibility of even adding in more routes in our region. So we want to make sure that you're all aware of this study. And currently there is ability for all of you, either as the board itself, as a governmental agency, or as private individuals, all of you in the room, to be able to submit comments to the Federal Railroad Administration through the project website, if you have interest in seeing these things come to fruition and making sure that we're on the map.
Dan, I don't know that we're going to be able to share it for some reason.
I don't have a copy.
Okay. Yeah, nobody has the packet on.
It's just the links that we sent.
Okay. Okay. Dan, we're not going to be able to share it. Sorry about that. But sorry about interrupting. Anything else? Go forward.
That is more or less it there. I mean, if you're able to see in your pack there, but what is known as the conceptual enhanced network. As you'll see, that shows like all the red routes, which are the current Amtrak services, and then the green routes for potential new services as well, or new long distance route segments. And that is what includes Wyoming again, and that we want to make a good case to make sure that you're back on the map and don't lose service as what happened unfortunately twice in Amtrak's history.
So Dan, looking through this information, I thought the plan was to go through Laramie, but not stop at Laramie in the best case scenario. Is that accurate, or did I miss that?
Nope, that's not quite accurate with it. They're not making any rulings about any potential station stops. So they're not precluding things before they thoroughly explore them. So as you look to the map there with green routes, just because Laramie isn't a dot on the map doesn't mean that they wouldn't consider that as a key stop, especially for being home of the University of Wyoming being the state's flagship institution, which is why I wanted to make sure to flag all this for you for Albany County with being home to the university there and how much of a great resource you are for not only the whole entire state, but really the whole region with, students from all over the region and well beyond, and wondering if passenger rail could be a great asset to that for not only student retention. And that's what we've heard from some of your counterparts, especially west part of the state, about how great that would be as an asset to be able to get to or from university and not have to be depending on your personal automobile as there's icy roads or truckers flipped over due to high winds or whatever it might be, but be able to have a nice productive time on a train.
Well, I love traveling by train, Dan, and I'm a pilot. So I think the train travel is fantastic. So, I'd get my vote. But any questions?
Yeah, so Dan, you're saying that because there isn't necessarily dots, so there could maybe be in the future, like even a stop like in Casper?
Absolutely. As you see on that map, I know they have two of the routes north of basically Cheyenne listed and dotted. But yeah, that any comments there, that's why all of you as a board or private individuals can submit comments. We would like to see a stop here in our community, whether that's, Laramie, or we'd also like to, give a shout out to our counterparts up in Casper, or just be able to really dialogue and articulate where's it that you would hope to be able to go to, especially if you don't have the ability to right now, if you don't maybe have a direct air flight right now, or if there's challenges on the roadway, whatever that might be, however these ideas could really come home to you, and that all the routes are listed there are basically live rail, continuous rail corridors today, and the idea is to work in conjunction with the host railroads such as Union Pacific, to not only meet their needs, but also our needs of transportation. So yeah, say as little or as ambitious as you want for wherever you would like to see connections there for Laramie and Casper, Sheridan, and more.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones, any questions for Mr. Bilka?
Yes, sir.
What did you ask, Pete?
I said, do you have any questions for Mr. Bilka?
Well, no, because I can't understand a word he's saying,
Okay.
but I'll call it good.
Okay. Any final takeaways from us for you, Dan? And I really do appreciate your time spent today. I didn't even know where this was being contemplated until you reached out and talked to us.
No, definitely. And thank you for letting me join remotely, even though I hope next time to be able to be there in person, since Laramie is a beautiful town. And you have a beautiful depot and beautiful rail yard. So we hope to see more passenger trains through there. But ultimately, our goal is just try to let you all know that there's this study going on, and we'll try to be in touch as it develops in the future. But right now, there is the opportunity to submit public comments. Like I said, as any official groups or as private individuals, that it's out there through the project website, fralongdistancerailstudy.org, I believe.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we have that information in our packet, and hopefully people will take you up on making those public comments. Thanks for joining us tonight, Dan.
Yep. Thank you all. I really appreciate it, and take care.
Take care. All right, item 9, present for approval, the FAA Airport Improvement Program Grant 3-56-0017-048-2023 for the Laramie Regional Airport Board to acquire aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicles in the amount not to exceed $927,963 direct the chairman to sign for Albany County, and authorize the Laramie Regional Airport Board Chair, Leah Brown, to sign on behalf of the airport upon concurrence with the city of Laramie. Amy, good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gosar, Commissioners. Tonight I'd like to present for approval a grant to acquire a new ARF truck. Our ARF truck is currently 17 years old. The lifespan shouldn't exceed 12. Per our FAA inspector, he told us 12 was where we should end up. So we're excited to have this coming onto the field. The state we're asking you guys to sign on the federal portion of the grant. The state will also be providing $29,369.05, and locally at the airport we'll be providing $19,579.37. All of our line operational employees are cross-trained as firefighters, airport rescue firefighters. We have all the appropriate PPE, and we're very excited that they will have a new truck to work with this coming year. Well, I say that when it comes up to the field.
Great.
And I think we're about 13 months out on them, so it's not going to be here quickly, but it is exciting.
Commissioners, any questions for Amy?
No, I just want to say that, Amy, I can understand you more clearly than anyone else, and I appreciate your presentation on this. I think it's excellent.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barra, anything? Awesome. Well, I'd entertain a motion for item 9, please.
I move that we approve item 9 as presented and direct the chairman to sign for Albany County.
Second,
The move and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign, please. That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Item 10, present for approval subrecipient agreements between the Albany County Commissioners and Climb, Wyoming, Cathedral Home for Children, Community Partners, Laramie Interfaith, and Greater Wyoming Big Brothers and Sisters in a total amount of $110,250 for TAMP CPI 2023-2024 grant funding, CFDA number 93.558 for services provided between October 1st, 2023 and September 30th, 2024.
Good evening, Commissioners. These are normal subrecipient agreements that we have for our TANF subrecipients. One of the things we did change this year that we're seeing all across federal funding is any subrecipients or contracts that involve federal funding have to be registered and active in SAM.gov. So we did add that piece, and you're going to be seeing it more frequently in all of our agreements. But everything else should be very similar to previous years.
Thank you, Bailey. Commissioners, any questions for Bailey? Mr. Jones, any questions for Bailey? I'd entertain a motion for item 10, please.
I move that we approve the subrecipient agreements between Albany County Commissioners, Climb, Wyoming, Cathedral Home, Greater Wyoming Brothers and Sisters, in the total amount of $110,250.
Is there a second?
Yes, second,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign, please. That motion carries. Item 11, present for approval, application to the United States Department of Energy for the purpose of placing solar panels at Road and Bridge, evidence storage, and the Albany County Fairgrounds. Bailey, thank you again.
This is the not quite complete application, but we're getting there. I'll be submitting it Friday. But this is the application for those solar panels. There's gonna be two 25 kilowatt panels placed at the search and rescue building. And there's gonna be one 25 kilowatt panel placed at the fairgrounds. It'll generate electricity to Road and Bridge, the evidence storage, and then the activity building at the fairgrounds is what we came up with. The total budget for it that Jake helped put together is $688,980. And he did break it down, which you had in your packets per solar panel. And those panels will all be creating covered parking for the SARS building and then the fairground. Any questions on this application?
Commissioners, any questions for Bailey?
So obviously, Bailey, this application has a lot more narrative than just these estimates, correct?
Yeah, so I did send an email this afternoon. I was waiting on our grant writer. She got the narrative piece done. She's still working on the community benefits plan, which is a requirement. It's the community benefits in regards to this project specifically is giving us a hard time because it's not the cookie cutter that you would see with a project, but the project is absolutely eligible in the funding and they've said it. So it's just taking a little more creativity and just a little more time. So she's still working on that piece. And I mean, overall, federal grant, at least the federal grants we're going for, they like 10, maybe 20 pages max of narrative. They don't like sorting through it all anymore.
Okay.
So
And did you send us that part?
I sent you the, yeah, I sent you the
Okay, and I
narrative.
apologize.
Nope, you're fine. It was late, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And Bailey, what percentage of this will that grant fund when we're successful in trying to?
It would be 100% if funded.
Yeah.
But the key to it is we needed to keep it, ideally I wanted to keep it under 500,000. Of course, with getting into realistic numbers, we couldn't do that. We had to keep it though under 700,000 because if we were over the 700,000, that put us into a much larger project, meaning you have to have a lot more partners. And we don't have that with this project because of what the project is.
Awesome. And then there was a call for letters, the supporting letters.
Yes.
Did some of those come in?
I've received one from the clerk's office and I've received one from the extension office. Adam today has helped me reach out to a few more people. So the coroner and I'm blanking. I reached out to Rocky Mountain today. I finally got a contact. I reached out to Todd Feeser at the city. He's out of town, but he passed it on to Janine. So maybe you could help me over there. And so, I mean, I'm hoping to get them by Thursday morning. I mean, if I have everything, I'm going to submit Thursday afternoon, but Friday's my deadline just because the portal they use is not user friendly and I don't want to run into issues.
And search and rescue is in one of those buildings, is that correct?
Yeah, so actually that's who Adam reached out to, is search and rescue is the other one.
Perfect.
But for as far, because we had the letters of partnership and letters of commitment, and letters of commitment, I got everybody's.
Okay,
But
thank you. If you need help, send me a note and I'll do what I can to help. Commissioners, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item 11.
I so move.
Oh, sorry, seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Oh, and I forgot to mention, Connor did reach out to me earlier and they are providing a letter of partnership as well.
Nice.
Thank you, Connor. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign, please. That motion carries. Item 12, present for approval, request for proposal for mental health treatment providers to provide mental health support in individual and/or group therapy for participants in the Albany County Sheriff's Office Critical Incident Mental Health Support Program and direct the clerk to advertise. Bailey, please.
So this is a grant the sheriff received a few months ago, and we're getting the RFP out for those mental health services for his deputies. So we use the template for drug court that she uses, but I made him do it and he didn't want to. But yeah, so we'll get that out and I hopefully we'll be under contract with somebody by fall and he can move forward with spending these funds.
And we did set it up, sorry to interrupt, so that if he has multiple providers who submit, he has the option to break up his funding amongst multiple providers. So that if he has staff who are already seeing somebody, there's a better chance of them being covered under the RFP so that they can be paid for out of this money.
Commissioners, any questions about that? Continuity of care is so important in healthcare. So that's a great idea. Thank you. If not, I'd entertain a motion for item 12 then, please.
I move that we approve the RFP for mental health treatment and direct the clerk to advertise.
Is there a second? Seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign, please. That motion carries. Item 13, discuss and appoint commissioner liaison to the strategic planning committee. Bailey, please.
So as you all know, we're putting together a committee for the strategic plan. We do need one commissioner, or I would like to have one commissioner on it, but just one. But everybody, all the department heads and commissioners, everybody will be able to put their input in, but just to have one liaison. I know Commissioner Jones did reach out to me through email saying that she was interested, but I'd like you guys to make that decision, yes.
And give us a little bit about what you think, Bailey, how this is gonna go. It's gonna be sent out a survey at some point.
Yeah, so a survey will be, I'm working with business council and she's gonna send out a survey. She said like 10 days before then this steering committee is gonna meet to kind of get all this information put together. Then once that steering committee meets, they're the ones that are kind of gonna be the hands-on of it. The way I see it is it's a strategic plan for the whole county, so it will need to be reviewed by the whole county. It's not just something that we're just gonna work on, go straight to you guys. But it'll be a process, depending on how much, I know we talked about depending on how much community engagement needed to be involved. So I think it's still a process that we're working through and we don't have it all quite nailed down yet, but getting that steering committee together is one of the first steps. So.
And I know you filled it quickly. You had a lot of people volunteering to meet. Was each department represented?
Well, we only want to have 6 to 8 people on that steering committee. So we have Kayla, Tracy, Kurt, Rob, David Gertch, myself, Brady, and then a commissioner.
Okay, so
There's one more that did reach out. Kim and Kate both reached out as well. If we decide we want to move it up to 10, I'll add those two. But if we really want to keep it to 8, we'll leave them out. They do have both 2 completely different backgrounds, so I can definitely see the benefit of having that. But I also know if there's too many cooks in the kitchen, not all that good stuff. So
It was presented to the electeds and program directors last, or is it this month? This month. And there was some concern that nobody wants to do strategic planning if it is not going to be implemented. And so I think it's really important that whomever gets it is willing to do the work and implement, and then this commission will have to be involved in the implementation along with other elected officials and with other department heads. There's just no point in doing strategic planning if it's not going to be, if it's just going to sit on the shelf. That is not interesting, I think, to anybody.
not, and it's a requirement with your grants that they're going to want to see some.
it is actually, even in my next item, it was something that was specifically listed. So, I mean, I'm seeing that more and more, and even they just want plans in general. I mean, Department of Transportation, it's all about planning right now. If you don't have a plan, you can't go for implementation grants, like done, you can't even apply. So planning in general is becoming a big part of grants, and having a strategic plan for the county as a whole, I think is a great start. And then Rob can move forward with a road plan. And I know then, of course, his has more components to it, of course, but you know, if we move forward with that, and then Adam can move forward with cybersecurity planning or things like that. But planning in the grant world is becoming a must before you even apply for implementation funds.
Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Jones, any questions?
No,
Okay, then entertain a motion.
I didn't hear what the, oh, you're asking for the motion.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll wait for the motion from somebody else.
Oh, okay, well, I'd like to move to appoint Pete, since he's already involved with department heads and all in the facility meeting, maybe even after one of those meetings. You already have an idea of what's happening with in each department and where you want to go. I'd support that.
Is there a second? Second?
Nope.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign, please.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for getting that. And I'm thinking, Bailey, that maybe going forward, maybe we could use the department head and elected officials meeting maybe to be partial to this planning.
I think partial, but it's, we
Yeah.
have to remember it's
Yep.
not the steering committee,
Right.
and it does need to stay
Yep.
completely separate.
Yep. Item 14, present for approval, estimate to resync, 13A, excuse me, Bailey, my mistake. Present for approval, application to the Wyoming Governor's Matching Funds for Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA grants for reconnecting communities and neighborhoods, RCN program. Thank you, Bailey.
So a little history on this one is we applied for raise funding earlier this summer, did not receive funding. That funding was for Skyline to be continued all the way through. After we didn't receive funding for this other opportunity came up called Reconnecting Communities. As I'm reading through the NOFO, I've just made the recommendation to Rob and Jake that this project has to be bigger. The feds aren't looking at us because we're not big enough, and it sucks, but it's the way it is. After having the conversations with Rob and Jake, we've decided to make that project bigger by including YDOT and the city. The city's piece would be 30th all the way to the interstate. YDOT's piece is the bridge over the interstate, and then of course our piece is Skyline. The other thing too is this project isn't ready for implementation. So we're gonna apply for a planning grant. The planning grant itself, we can apply up to the $2 million for the total cost of the project. After talking with Jake, running some really rough numbers, we're gonna apply for the full 2 million. But that means we have to have a 20% cost share. Between the three parties, one of the reasons we got YDOT and the city on board is we presented it that they didn't need to put any match because we didn't think this is the funding we were gonna go for. After talking with some calls with DOT and just talking amongst ourselves, we decided that this is a good opportunity. We should try for this funding specifically. The other thing that came up that I remembered from my summit back in June, the governor's office has set aside $75 million in matching funds for IIJA grants specifically. So we're gonna try to get our match through there. One of the things though, I did not feel comfortable with is asking for the entire $400,000 through the state. I feel like it shows that we're not committed to the project and we need to be. So I would like to put $25,000 from our budget. This is something that I will put on my match budget next grant cycle or next fiscal year. And then we would ask the $375,000 from the state. Because one of the partners is YDOT, we felt we're feeling confident in it, hopefully, but we never know. I don't know how much funding is still available. I know that this is still on the newer end, but it was just a 4-page application. So this is the first step to that because we need a letter of commitment from them. And then the application to USDOT is due at the end of September.
Commissioners, any questions? I gotta tell you, Bailey, that's, I like how you did it. And I think when the door closes, when another one opens up, and I really do think that's a really interesting program. I hope somebody else will think it's interesting, both at the state and at the federal government. But I know that's been in the works for a long time.
Well, and that's what we had been talking about with Rob and Jake, and we had local DOT or YDOT was on board, but we had to talk to everybody over in Cheyenne. That's why I came today with it. It's getting all three to the table is a little difficult, but in order for everybody to kind of get what they want out of this, I think this is the best way to do it. When it comes to implementation of this, that will most likely be broken up into different pieces. We did have our debrief with the raise application that we put in and didn't receive. We actually scored pretty well. We were scored recommended, we just weren't highly recommended. So we were that next level, which is really well, but we were lacking in data. So one of the pieces that we're gonna apply for in here is the data collection of some of this. And we're allowed to do that with planning. Because if we don't have the data to back it, we don't have an application. So.
Any other questions, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item 13A.
I moved.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Yeah.
That motion carries. And Terry, did you vote for that or vote against that?
Yes,
Okay, super. Item 14, present for approval estimates to reshingle the roof at the Albany County Annex Building located at 1003 South Third Street from Gem City Roofing. Anthony, good evening.
Commissioners. So basically, the annex roof is leaking everywhere. I think it's 16, 17 years old. And from what I can tell, the shingles aren't even hail resistant, so I'm surprised it lasted this long. Unless it's been leaking for a long time, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, the shingles are, you can see the pictures I attached. They look like tacos. They're supposed to be flat. And apparently there was mold damage. I haven't seen the report, but that's what Roy had told me, and many of the public defenders up there at one point, and we paid for someone to come in and fix all that. Well, in that 3 by 4 foot section that was fixed, it's leaking in the same exact spot. You can see everything's falling on the floor, and basically the roof, it's beyond repair now. We just need to replace it. With the 3 estimates that I got, they're all local. I reached out to several. These are the 3 that responded, but Gem City, if I could recommend any of them, I would go with Gem City because they're very familiar with the roof already, and they patched several spots. And they're actually the ones who put the roof on 16, 17 years ago. And I was talking with the owner, and he said, you know, I've learned a lot of things since 16, 17 years ago, and I have a few ideas, I think, because the roof it's not a normal shaped roof. It's got some sections that are jetting out, some lower, some flat, some. Anyway, he said he's got some really good ideas on how to better installation this time around. So.
Commissioners, any questions?
And any idea how soon they could start on?
Yeah, actually, I reached out to these 3 guys, and Gem City said they can start the first week of September.
Oh, nice.
They have all the materials, and it's kind of why I wanted to separate this from the other roofing jobs, because those are going to take a lot longer. And if we do have mold over there, I want to get the roof fixed ASAP so we can start fixing sealing and test for mold and stuff like that. So.
Anthony or Jennifer or Kayla, maybe you know, do you have insurance on all of those buildings? And if so, I know there was hail damage this year in Laramie that a lot of roofs are being replaced with insurance.
We have warm, which is our property insurance. We could probably make a claim through it, but if it's an ongoing leaking issue, I don't know that the insurance would cover it. I could reach out to Joe over at Warm tomorrow and ask him. I know we've never done an insurance claim on it when we have the issues before, but I don't know if the leaking is caused by, I highly doubt it's caused by anything other than just the fact of normal wear and tear, but I can definitely reach out to him if you'd like.
Would you do that? But I don't want to stop this train if it's going to head down the path.
Yeah.
I'd like to know if Warren wants to help us pay for that roof. That would be great.
Okay.
Commissioner Jones,
my guess is,
go ahead.
my guess is if the roof is that bad and the shingles look like tacos, any prorating on that's probably long gone, but hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah. I'd entertain a motion for item 14 if there's no other questions.
I have one question.
Sure.
We didn't put in here, but I think this needs to be paid out of the building contingency fund is where we would want to take these funds from. We can note that in your motion if that's okay.
Building reserve.
The building, yeah, or the buildings.
That's where we did budget for the
Yes.
3 roofs.
The 3 roofs.
At I can't remember what dollar amount we put in there, but we did put money into that building reserve.
Yes.
To cover this roof, the roof across the street, and the courthouse.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion for item 14, please.
I move that we approve the estimate for the replacement of roof at the Albany County Annex building located at 1003 South Third and pay for this job from the building reserve fund. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 15, acknowledge disclosure statements of finances from Tracy Fletcher, Albany County Treasurer, and Sunny Matt, Albany County Deputy Treasurer. Tracy, good evening.
Good evening. This is our annual requirement for statutory purposes to tell everybody in the world where we bank, where the county banks, so nobody thinks we're commingling our funds with the county funds.
Is there any questions for Tracy? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item 15.
I move that we approve item 15 as presented.
Second.
Moving second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Terry, do you vote for that?
Yes.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Tracy. Item 16, present for approval, resolution 2023-014, updating the Albany County investment policy. Tracy.
Good evening again. There's just been a few changes to the investment policy from what we've had in place since 2006 or 2007, I believe. I had 6, Jennifer had 7, I think, but a long time ago in any case. Some of the changes that were made, Jennifer made it all pretty with section numbers because that wasn't there before. She also added the EMT districts in section 2.1, which would exclude that we invest on behalf of those different entities, since EMT districts are now being able to be formed. Section 9.2, the collateralization statute, excuse me, requires that our funds being held be collateralized at 100%. Our investment policy currently has 120%, which is not actually being practiced by our banks now. So I updated this to match statute and practices that are happening right now. The next update is in section 17.28. It states that each account was covered under FDIC at $100,000 per account. However, that is not what FDIC does. They currently cover up to $250,000 as the aggregate total as it is linked to our taxpayer ID number. And those are just updates that needed to happen. There could be more down the road, but this is all for right now.
Terry, any questions for Tracy? How about you, Commissioner Rivera?
I have no questions.
If there are no questions, I'd entertain a motion for item 16.
I move that we approve item 16 as presented.
There a second for item 16?
I have a second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 17, award the bid for banking services to First Interstate Bank for the Albany County General Account, Warrant Account, Payroll Account, Employee Health Benefit Account, and County Road Fund Account. Tracy, thank you again.
Thank you. Before you is the award for the bid. In the packet, it should included a sheet that where I took everybody who bid on our services. Some of them, it's hard to compare because what one bank calls one service is not what the other bank calls another service. So I did my best to compare them in the same categories. So on the measure of what we did for the bank accounts, one of the greatest things for the county to look at is the safety of our funds. So everybody is already on board with, FDIC and the pledging requirements as they are in the investment policy. Another thing we look at is liquidity. Would we be able to access that money should we need it right away? And then our return on investment. And also within our investment policy, community investment is a highly prioritized item we look at. So you can see all the different items that I looked at in the different quotes. One of the next ones is, is everybody a public depository? Well, a number of these banks already are a public depository for Albany County or within the state through the state treasurer's office. And so that was not an issue with any of these banks. The biggest thing I looked at next was the cost of the banking. So as you'll see, the cost of First Interstate Bank for the general account, and that's what happens with our general account is it funds all of the different accounts. So all the warrants that are issued through the vouchers and all the payroll that's issued, all of that automatically draws from the general account. And the general account also takes and analyzes all the fees. So that minimum balance to offset the fees is $5 million for the general account to offset $969 of fees. You can see that Bank of the West, where the general account is now, they came in with a bid of $4,133 and some change. In order to offset those fees, we'd have to carry $8.112 million, which obviously the rate's a little bit better, or with the cost being lower, excuse me, we can offset it much easier. The earnings credit rate, as you will see, is only 0.32% at First Interstate, where at Bank of the West, soon to be BMO, is 0.60%. So it is higher at Bank of the West, but with those fees being lower, you just can't get over the fees being lower, in my opinion. The next thing I looked at too is the references. There were a number of references that I talked to on different banks. Some of them I might not have seen them. Bank of the West, for instance, did not include them because they felt it was a privacy conflict for their banking. I also looked at their relationship history with the county. First Interstate Bank, we've had a long-standing relationship with First Interstate Bank. Many of the departments, including the clerk's office, the sheriff's office, the jail, they have their individual departmental accounts at First Interstate Bank. We also had our general account and all the other accounts being moved at First Interstate prior to Bank of the West. Bank of the West, we've also had a long-standing relationship with them as well. There we have a jail endowment overage or interest account, excuse me, that has been with them since I've been here. So for 20 years, so it's probably even before then, because that jail endowment was formed, I want to say back in the 90s somewhere, prior to Tracy. But, and then the next thing is the community investment. I think we all see First Interstate in the bank. I think they're a big sponsor for like Lemonade Day that happened just this last weekend, where promoting kids to learn about businesses and taking money and selling services and those things. Bank of the West, they currently are not involved in Albany County. A&B Bank, they were a bidder and they are growing. They've submitted some things, some projects that they are working on, and I think they're going to grow their presence in Laramie. Some of the other ones, it was hard to tell. Pinnacle Bank, they're pretty darn new, so I'm sure they're wanting to get involved. And then FNBO, of course, is very involved in the community as well. But those are the criteria I looked at, and it would be my recommendation to award this bid for those accounts to First Interstate Bank.
Commissioners, any questions for Tracy?
Yeah, Tracy, so this, what you have here is information that you solicited from them and they did respond. And if it's unknown that they didn't give you any information, or if it's unsure they didn't.
Unsure, or if they called it something completely different than what I was looking for, I wasn't able to find it in their things. But if I'm not able to find easily in their documents, it makes me question whether I'd be able to easily find hidden fees or or what the fees are comparable to what we're doing now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, I guess with both these items on this agenda, Do you feel that these funds are distributed enough through the banks? I mean, we have quite a few funds here going to First Interstate and quite a few going to Bank of the West. Is that enough distribution with the banks in the community?
I think so. I mean, I did also, when I sent out letters, tentative letters of denial, that they don't maybe have that relationship with the county right now, but I encourage them to strongly do so. Because I would like to involve all the banks in the county as we can. These are the big ones that, that's where we make most of our money. And you can see also, First Interstate Bank gave us a proposal to take. So approximately in our general account, we have about $23 million, which is all the different funds, all the different grant funds, all the different reserve accounts and things that are not invested. So with that, they gave us a program or a plan to invest that money over the 5 million. So we can take about 20 million roughly and invest that with them at an introductory rate, excuse me, for 6 months, I believe was 5.75, which would garner us about $500,000. Looking to get some money.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Tracy, do you have, or excuse me, Terry, do you have any questions for Tracy?
Yes, Tracy, in reviewing the different banks, were there any that said that they do not encourage or do not invest in oil, gas, and coal exploration?
When you look at many of the banks, they're, what do they call it? The environmental, social, and governance policies. Pretty much they're all comparable. I think we all know that Bank of the West came out with a really, really bad marketing plan about 8 years ago. I want to say it's been now with that they weren't going to invest in communities that or companies that, you know, Wyoming keeps Wyoming strong, you know, oil, gas,
Right.
and all those. None of these have that, came out forward with that. And with Bank of the West now being owned by BMO, which is BMO, stands for Bank of Montreal. I don't know what BMO's take is because they're still in that transition period, but and the one reason, and on the next agenda item number 18 for awarding that bid to Bank of the West, and I'll just kind of explain my thought process on that. So those are the two of the accounts that I would like to stay with Bank of the West are the specific purpose taxes. There's very little transaction happens with those. We might have maybe 3-4 checks a month. I think the one for the 2010 hopefully will be spent soon and we can actually just close that one out. But to order a box of checks or that little transaction really doesn't make sense for an account that's probably going to earn more in interest just sitting there. But back to your question, no, nobody has been anti-oil and gas.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? And Tracy, credit unions cannot be a place for investment.
No. Currently, credit unions can't take public funds. Sometimes I wish they could, but then it's member owned, so I don't know what that would look like. It might be kind of wonky.
Yeah.
Tracy, thank you for putting these charts together. Real easy to see the information there.
Oh, you're welcome. I had to do it for my own self to sort everything out because with these 6 proposals, honestly, I really thought I'd get 3, maybe 4 proposals to come in. I was happily surprised by 6, but the stack on my desk was like this because there were some with binders, some with what do we call those little spiral bound things? Some a little less professional in my opinion, but doesn't change the fact that it had good information in it.
And did you have a deadline when you put this out?
They were due on, that was my deadline to decide. So it was the Friday before that, so the July 28th where the proposals were due, which gave me about a week to go through them all, and a lot of dry material. So
Yeah.
had to get up and go for walks every now and again in the courthouse.
Well, I move that we approve item 17 as presented.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 18, anything to add? I know you touched on that a bit. Tracy, would you like to add anything on 18?
No, I did mention that we are going to keep that jail endowment interest account there as well. It's been there for a very long time. It's also tied, we have investments with MBS multi-bank securities, and it's already tied to that jail endowment. So if we needed to transfer money from the investments, it's going to go into this account, and we can supplement our general fund for maintenance costs based on the interest earned on the jail endowment, which we haven't done in some time because we haven't needed to. And I don't think there's been the
Transfer like that from one bank to the other?
from our investment bank to,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
Okay.
Which all this, of course, is going to start a big old process of transferring where the state sends their money, where the federal government sends our money. Our larger tax servicing for our mortgage companies, like CoreLogic, Wells Fargo, Loretta still sends money by check, but it's going to be a process, but in the end, it's going to be worth it because we're going to save a lot of money. We're going to earn a lot of money. So.
Any questions, commissioners, for item 18?
I have none.
I didn't hear that.
Any other questions for item 18, Terry?
No, thank you.
I'd entertain a motion for item 18.
I was given the opportunity, Jerry. I move that we award the bid for banking services to Bank of the West, soon to be BMO, for the 2010 specific purpose excise tax, 2018 specific purposes excise tax, and the jail endowment interest accounts to remain with Bank of the West BMO.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I have one final comment. At a future meeting, you're going to have agreements to approve for all of these things you just awarded. When I sent out tentative awards to the various banks, everybody's on vacation. So I wasn't able to get any kind of agreement. So come September, hopefully I'll have those for your September 1st or September meeting.
The moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate it. 19, award bid for the purchase and delivery of 2 new mid-size 4-door all-wheel drive sport utility vehicles with trade-in to Kent Garf Cheyenne, the amount of $77,876, and authorize the chair to sign the contract. Kayla, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I have an agreement and then, well, I guess award the bid and then an agreement at the same time to sign for Ken Garf Cheyenne. We sent this bid out twice. Finally, the second time we got some bids back. I was kind of disappointed we didn't get any bids back from any local dealers, but we tried. That's all we can do. We got bids from Fremont Motors in Casper, Fremont Chevy GMC in Riverton, and then get Ken Garf over in Cheyenne. So we're looking at looks like 2 Ford Explorers. The total bid was $78,376 with a trade-in of whopping $500 for that old Expedition that we have. So the total bid amount is $77,876 for the 2 mid-size vehicles. So,
Commissioners, any questions for Kayla? Not, I've entertained a motion for item 19, please.
I move that we award the bid for the purchase and delivery of 2 new mid-size 4-door all-wheel drive sport utility vehicles with trade-in to Ken Garf in Cheyenne in the amount of $77,876, and authorize the chair to sign the contract.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you.
Item 20, present for concurrence, Albany County Board of Commissioners, Resolution 2023-015, City of Laramie, Wyoming, Resolution 2023-62, resolution appointing one member of the Environmental Advisory Committee for the City of Laramie, Wyoming. And so I sit on this board. Councilor Doherty and I interviewed Kyle McDonald. He is an engineer at Tri Hydro with experience in brownfield remediation. Wants to be involved in the community, thought this was a great opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity for the EAC to have somebody with his experience and his ability to help us move both that joint board forward. I'd entertain any motion or any idea, any questions you had that I might be able to answer.
Yeah, so will there still be one more position that needs to be filled?
There'll be one more position that needs to be filled, and I believe it's a county resident. I think Mr. McDonald lives in the city.
And you only got the one applicant at this time?
Yep, we only have one applicant.
I move that we appoint Kyle McDonald to the EAC.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 21, acknowledge receipt of the letter of resignation from Gary Curry from the 9 Mile Water and Sewer District. Only have the letter. I don't have any other information for that. And so I guess, commissioners, we can either acknowledge it or not acknowledge it, but I think it's happening one way or the other. So I'd entertain a motion for 21.
I move that we acknowledge the receipt of the letter from, I can't see this. Excuse me, from Gary Curry from 9 Mile Water and Sewer District.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And then item 21A, present for approval, permit to appraise for the Wyoming Department of Transportation regarding project N232067 Road, 3rd Street section, Curtis Street to Boswell Street, parcel number 42 in Albany County, Wyoming. Jennifer, please.
So this is in front of you because of the annex building on 3rd Street. Specifically, they have marked as that north corner right by the annex. They're going to use, it's marked in red on the documentation. They're going to use it as like a staging area as they start to do all this construction. But this is just the permit to appraise. So they can go in and do all those things. I'm sure there will be more that comes as the project moves along.
Commissioners, any other questions for Jennifer? I entertain a motion for item 21A.
I move that we approve item 21A as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 22, approve payroll and vouchers for August 2023. I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve payroll and vouchers for August of 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 23, executive session pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405 III. I'd entertain a motion to leave regular session and enter executive session.
I move that we exit regular session and move to executive session pursuant to Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 III.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries, leaving regular session, entering executive session at 7:04 PM. We will stop back and the video once regular session is, and we'll see you in just a minute.
I'm ready.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to leave executive session and return to regular session. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing,
I have done.
hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Leaving executive session, returning to regular session at 7:37 p.m. Seeing no more business before the Albany County Commission on August 15th, 2023. I'll call this meeting adjourned. We'll look forward to talking to you all on September 5th, which is the next county commission meeting. Thank you all. Have a nice night. Thanks, Terry.
Good night.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Terry.
See you, Terry.